Canada was once known as the world's top producer of the valuable commodity hailed as a magic mineral for its fireproofing and insulating characteristics. But the industry began its steady decline in the 1970s as science started linking asbestos exposure to serious health problems like lung disease and cancer. Victor Capriccioni knows he doesn't have much time left.
I know I'm going to die. You have to imagine that you're handed a death sentence, but they won't tell you when. That's what it's like getting asbestos cancer.
Capriccioni worked with asbestos for many years and with a number of different companies. About a year ago, he was diagnosed with mesothelioma.
I was getting some mild chest pains, and I went to my family doctor, and he didn't like the sound of it. And he sent me up for x-rays right away, and boy, everything happened within a few days.
And he's not alone. The number of cases has shot up almost 70% over the last 15 years. Mesothelioma is caused by exposure to asbestos. Fibers from asbestos can be breathed in, lodging in the lungs. Over time, serious illness and cancer can develop.
Which causes scarring of the lungs, causing a disease called asbestosis, and it can also lead to cancer of the lungs or the lung cavity.
Mesothelioma is deadly. Most people live 6 months to a year after diagnosis. It's easy to prove cause and effect because the fibers can be visible in the lungs. That made it easier for Capriccioni to get almost $200,000 in compensation.
American companies that made asbestos products were sued in the U.S. to the point where they all went into bankruptcy, and funds were set up to compensate people using the assets of those companies, and they will pay out with proof that the asbestos was theirs. They will pay out claims.
But those who get sick and are still under 65 years old are encouraged to go through the Workplace Safety Insurance Board. Miskin represents over 100 people with asbestos-related diseases. He says everyone should speak to a lawyer about their options before doing anything.
To analyze their situation to see if they would do best with compensation or by going directly to the asbestos trust. And usually if it's an older worker who's not entitled to a disability benefit from being off work, it's better to go to the asbestos trust.
Despite the growing evidence that asbestos causes cancer, it's not banned in Canada, and the Canadian government continues to allow it to be mined and sold to third world countries. Dr. Jessica Van Horsen lives in Peterborough and has written a book about asbestos in Canada. She says despite Dean Del Mastro's assurances Canadian asbestos is safe, it's not.
In yesterday's clip, he said everything that he read suggested that it wasn't dangerous. Well, what has he read? Because everything I have read suggests that it is. Is this a willful ignorance? And that is going to be perpetuating the disease rates in Peterborough.
Something Capriccioni knows all too well.
I have a great daughter, and I love her very much. And I have 2 great grandchildren. They were just here this weekend, and my daughter said the same thing I said to you this morning. I'd give every cent of it back if I could get my health.
Many other people who worked with asbestos have developed other forms of cancer, brain cancer, cervical cancer, and breast cancer, to name just a few. They have to fight for compensation because the government says there is no provable link. Van Horsen's book will be out next year. It's called Asbestos: Environmental Change, Contamination, and Collapse. For Healthwatch, I'm Pamela Van Meer.